What is a seemingly normal photo that has a disturbing backstory? If you're British, and of a certain age, you'll probably be as haunted by this grainy image as I am. I still distinctly remember the first time I saw it. At the time, James Bulger was only missing, and it was regarded as a cause for optimism that he was last seen with other children. The truth was far worse than anyone imagined, and still inspires a visceral reaction unlike any other crime in my lifetime. I wish I didn't read that article.
Explain in the most mild way possible so no one else has to, please.
This photo of Howard Ashman and Alan Menken, who wrote the lyrics and music respectively for The Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast and Aladdin. In this photo they had just won Oscars for The Little Mermaid. That night Ashman told Menken they needed to have a serious talk when they got back to New York. And when they got back a couple days later, Ashman told Menken he had AIDS and was going to die. They had been songwriting partners for over a decade and were in the middle of working on Beauty and the Beast. So it looks like a happy photo of two men achieving their wildest dream. But it's really a record of the last normal moment they had together. And while Menken is all smiles, if you look closely at Ashman you can tell something's wrong.
Apparently this is a photo of a 4-year-old girl's footprints before she drowned in a pond.
There is a photo of an American volcanologist sitting down while studying volcanic activity at Mount St. Helens. Photo. Article. 13 hours after the photograph was taken. On May 18, 1980, the volcano erupted and killed 57 people including the volcanologist. He seemed so happy to be present, looks like the smile of pride from doing his job. Two brothers smiling. Kevin and Bart Whitaker. Hours later after arriving home from dinner, Bart killed Kevin and his mother after conspiring with a friend. He tried to kill his father as well, but he survived. It's a horrible story. I don't know what became of Bart though. All I know is that his father somehow found the courage to forgive him. If I recall correctly, Bart had flunked out of college but his parents still believed he was attending and even giving him money for tuition, which he was blowing on booze, etc. They were out to dinner to celebrate his graduation. He didn't even pull the trigger. He got his friend to do it. Bart also told the cops the shooter was black to keep suspicion away from his friend.
This photo of Travis Alexander by Jodi Arias, moments before she killed him. It's fucking haunting to me. I made the mistake once of looking at crime scene photos from this case and they're some of the most vile and gory photos I've ever seen.
If you happen to watch the 8-hour OJ Made in America doc, be forewarned. They have the uncensored crime scene photos of Nicole Brown Simpson and Ronald Golding. They come out of nowhere, too.
The Creamers/Froon photos. Two photogenic Dutch girls traveling in Panama, they go hiking in the jungle and never return. Weeks later their backpack and some body fragments are found miles away in another mountain valley. In the backpack is a camera containing photos of them happily hiking up the trail. Then a mysteriously deleted photo. Then multiple somewhat random photos from days later, at night, somewhat randomly framed, with only hints that the girls are actually behind the camera, apart from a photo of the hair on the back of one of their heads. Is she dead? Sleeping? Where are they and how did they get there? And was it an accident or foul play? Has its own subreddit r/creamersfroon.
A kid went missing hiking a spot on the Big Island of Hawaii. He texted some pictures of the scenery while he was hiking. After he never showed up at home, his family noticed somebody lurking in bushes in the photos he sent. Irk, My family that live in Hawaii said the spot is illegal to hike it, so it's not like it would have been a heavily populated trail. More info, and the photo in question.
This one is fucking terrifying. This is a photo of Tyler Hadley holding a cup in a party at his house. Just before this party he had murdered his mother and father and hid their bodies in the master bedroom. Murder of Blake and Mary Jo Hadley. Tyler Hadley's killer party. Oh my word, I just read that this photo was taken after he had told his best friend, the other person in the photo, what had happened, and showed him the room. His friend took it because he thought he might not see him again. That is fucked.
From the story, his friend turned him into the police an hour later, so I wonder if it's more trying to keep appearances before he turned him in. A still photo from a video. A man who swam to his girlfriend in their underwater hotel room while on vacation in Tanzania and proposed to her with a note and a ring. He died before he could resurface from the water. Louisiana man dies during underwater proposal. This one. It's the last picture taken of 18-year-old Jolie Callan before her boyfriend shot her twice in the head and pushed her body off the cliff. Here is an article about it.
If something happens to me, you'll know who I was with. Seems like she knew he was crazy. Moral of the story, stay the fuck away from your ex after breaking up.
Just recently there was a student, I believe in Russia, who texted her mom as she got into a stranger's car, getting into a car. Hope I don't get abducted. They did abduct her and murdered her.
This one is pretty well known, but I scrolled pretty far down and couldn't find this picture. It's a picture of Joseph Goebbels taken just after he just found out the photographer was Jewish. I can feel the hate in his eyes.
This one's from a collection called Eyes of Hate, and was taken in Geneva by Alfred Eisenstedt, a Jewish photographer who worked for Life magazine back then. Second-hand story. So a Redditor once posted his grandma's story of how she grew up in London and was being sexually harassed by a guy. Grandma mentioned how she was friends with these nice two boys from the neighborhood who said they'd tell him to knock it off. And she never saw the offending guy again. Those boys were so nice and helpful. She even has a picture of the three of them. Wait, she'll look it up. To which her family replied, "None. What do you mean you were friends with the Cray twins? Asterisk, asterisk."
Legend is a movie about these guys. Fantastic movie and pretty great performance of both brothers by Tom Hardy. 5/7 movie. In the old days it used to be common to take pictures with dead relatives. The woman in the middle is already dead. There's tons of them too, like I said, this was common practice here. As strange as this seems to us, compared to a lot of the other stuff in this thread, this is borderline wholesome. Getting a picture taken back then was expensive and time-consuming. These were just families making sure they had a way to remember their departed loved ones. The Lawson family portrait always makes the hair on the back of my neck stand up. Wikipedia tells their awful tale, which has been memorialized in murder ballads. Dressed in their finest, a picture made for the holidays, and no one knowing that the father would kill most of the family days later. Brutal stuff. The wiki suggests incest as a reason for the murder-suicide.
I read all of these but didn't see the relatively recent murder case of the two girls from Delphi, Libby and Abby. It's an ongoing investigation, but local law enforcement released a film of their killer taken from one of the girls' phones, but also a photo of Abby walking over the railway bridge shortly before they disappeared. I can't believe this is so far down. To have their murderer's voice recorded and not be able to identify him is so frustrating. I think LLE has an idea of who it is, but doesn't have enough evidence to make any moves. This image never fails to elicit a strong emotional reaction in me. When you read what was allowed to happen to this child by the people supposed to care the most about him and the failures of the system meant to protect him, you cannot fail to feel something. Looking at the picture and knowing what the child suffered makes me burn inside. Currently sat here rage crying again after posting this. There's a similar case in the US. Happened to a kid named Gabriel Fernandez. Children's Services called on the parents multiple times with no resolution whatsoever. Kid never had a chance. There's a Netflix documentary about him that's really good. Made me so mad just watching everything that happened to the kid over the course of a couple of years.
The boy holding the free hug sign that went viral for hugging a cop. Ultimately he was being used by his abusive adoptive mother for online social clout, and eventually she murdered their whole family by driving their car off of a cliff. Edit: I understand that this link treats his mothers rather lightly. As several commenters have pointed out, the Broken Hearts podcast is an excellent deep dive into this horrible tragedy.
Ugh, this story makes me so angry and sad every time I hear about it. It came out after the murder that the boy and his siblings tried to reach out to neighbors about what was happening to them, and the moms convinced the neighbors that everything was fine. I'm so sad that these poor kids were failed by everyone who was supposed to protect them. These photos of Auschwitz staff enjoying pleasant days off always stick with me. They look like camp counselors. But their job is killing people in horrible ways and they enjoyed it. Most probably took lives not shortly before or after the photos were taken. Edit: looks like the Reddit hug of death is slowing the site. So if you want to be angry, take a look here. For the ones that stick out to me the most, all are sickeningly SFW.
A picture of Unit 731. It's shuddering to think what went on in there. Don't research it extensively unless you can stand the gore.
The final picture of the Webster sisters and their friends taking a selfie. They all look so carefree, and then you see the bright light behind them and just want to yell at them to get out of the way of the train.
How in the hell do you not hear a train horn? I always wonder how people don't dive out of the way, aside from the few that are oblivious and walk into the path.
The name of the family escapes me. But a family went camping or hiking in the wilderness and never came back. There was a camera found with photos from what they did. And one is of their daughter smiling. Some people say she actually looks frightened in the photo though. Like it was taken under duress. There are various theories that they owed a big debt to drug dealers or something. Edit: here's a thread about it. Second edit: my initial comment kinda misrepresented things, but it's still an interesting story.
Yeah, I remember that one. It's scary AF. Wasn't the family also filmed loading the car as if they were in some sort of trance to go on this trip?
JP Morgan and Leah Graf. This photo caused Leah to become an overnight sensation. Viral. But she couldn't deal with all the attention. So she moved back home, where she was later arrested and sent to Auschwitz for being deemed unfit. Human. Link is to the picture, not the story.
Do you mind sourcing me the story about Auschwitz? I've been trying to look whether she survived or not. This says something. But it was only a quick Google search. She didn't make it.
John Edwards Robinson. This photo. John Edwards Robinson, yellow sweater, is holding baby Tiffany, whose mother he murdered the day before. He gave baby Tiffany to his brother, saying she was adopted. His brother, along with Tiffany, didn't find out the truth for 15 years. I remember moving to a small suburb town of Raymore, Missouri, just 15 minutes south of Kansas City. It was just a couple months after moving there they found John Robinson's storage unit with 55-gallon drums with the corpses inside. I would ride my bicycle by them every day.
Here you go. Never forget about this one. I've seen a lot of pictures taken right before disaster. Everyone needs a hobby, I guess, but the carefree smiles in this one as the lightning is already charging on them is a lot. Edit, you all hugged the original to death so. That hair, if I ever see my hair like that in open I am fucking running for my life.
Genuine question. But is there even enough time to make a run for it after you notice the hair standing up like that? This photo was taken at a nightclub before it caught on fire by fireworks leaving 100 people dead. The video is far worse. Edit. For those asking, here is the link. NSFW. Click at your own risk. It is traumatizing and a tough watch. Listen. The screams really messed me up for a while.
This photo, of Lost Prophets lead singer Ian Watkins who turned out to be a literal baby rapist.
Have you read the court transcriptions? That dude is a literal fucking monster who does not deserve life. Holy fuck. Serious warning on this.
Jesus fucking hell. Some people should just cease to exist.
The photo that Sinead O'Connor tore up during her SNL performance, the photo of the Pope, has a far deeper backstory than people realize. This exact photo was the only thing that her abusive mom had on her walls. Her mom made her life hell, and when she died, Sinead took the photo, the only thing in the world that her mom actually seemed to care about, and looked for the right moment to destroy it. Ripping it up was at least partially a denunciation of the Catholic Church, but she was also making a huge statement about child abuse.
And she basically destroyed her career, and arguably started the downhill trajectory of her sanity, over something that she was later proven to be right about. It's sad. Edit, I should probably say that she destroyed her fame rather than career, since she has obviously had a career more to her liking since this event.
Actually, in her latest book, she says that this action saved her career because she hated the fame and wanted to be a rebel. It's a great read if you are interested. This one always gets me. It's not that it's seemingly normal, it's just that it takes a second to realize what is going on. It's a man jumping from one of the World Trade Center towers on September 11th. Just the calmness and uniformity of the background, it's harrowing. At the 9/11 museum they have a bit about one of the jumpers who, while falling, reached down to make sure her skirt didn't fly up. It touched on the human nature of the moment in a way that really hit you in the gut. Brandon Price. The picture in the article is the only known picture of him. He was living with his grandparents and being abused. He was dead when his grandmother brought him to the hospital. She has been charged and the last I heard was still awaiting trial in his death. The community took up donations to pay for his burial and headstone. He looks completely demoralized in the picture and I've always felt so bad for the guy. That's so sad. He was 10 and only weighed 55 pounds, no one noticed while he was alive that he was so malnourished. Heartbreaking. Teacher here. No matter how many times we call DHS, they will do jack shit. They always say it's just that we've seen worse. Girl, so have I. Take this baby and go feed him.
This photo creeps me out. John Lennon signed an autograph for his killer, Mark Chapman, just a few hours before the murder and then asked him, "Is that all?" Quote, Chapman even had a gun on him at the time.
The happy photo of the father and daughter taken moments before the Omagh car bombing. So after looking into that photo, the father and daughter survived but the photographer didn't.
How baffling it is they survived the explosion. I guess they walked away from the car just in time, otherwise I can't see how can you survive standing this close to explosion.
This picture was taking off a group of people whose plane crashed in the Andes. They were eventually saved but had to resort to cannibalism to survive. They are all smiling in the photo, but it becomes eerie when you realize the human spine to the right of them in the picture. It should be noted they didn't kill people to eat them. They regretfully ate meat, starting with extremities, from victims of the crash and survivors that had already perished. They were stranded in the mountains for nearly 3 months. IIRC. Edit. They also made a pact, so that anyone who died from then on would be eaten first before anyone else, so as to at least have the consent of the person being eaten. I've posted this before. A politician at an election rally. Last photo of Indian Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi, taken moments before a suicide bomber, wearing orange flowers. Lower left. Also on the inset. Top left. Tilde hugged him. Tilde bent down and touched his feet and detonated her bomb. Edit. Last 2 frames of the film. EDIT2. You, that anon dude. Thanks for the correction. And the girl was 17 when she blew herself up. Absolutely mad.